The state of Hawaii has produced a lot of big-time football players over the last few years. You've had quarterbacks like Dillon Gabriel, Mackenzie Milton, and especially the Tagovailoa brothers. You also had some other players like Andre Yoshivas, who's a receiver in the NFL, and Roman Wilson, a current receiver in the NFL. That's just to name a few, as there are plenty of other guys who have come out of the Aloha State, but there's a guy who is the next man up. His name is very interesting. It goes something like Jaron-Keawe Sagapolutele. I may have totally butchered that, but that's going to be the only time I even try to pronounce that name, as we're going to refer to him as Jaron for the rest of the video. Jaron is currently ranked as one of the top quarterbacks in the 2025 class, and was expected to potentially become the next great Oregon Ducks quarterback. He's had quite a few months. He went from a 3-star recruit who was pretty unheralded, to then committing to Cal, and then becoming a 5-star near signing day. He entertained both Georgia and Oregon, and ultimately decided to flip to the Ducks. He became one of 2 quarterbacks in their 2025 class, and again, he was probably supposed to be the next big thing. They currently have Dante Moore, but after that, he'd probably battle it out with Austin Novosad and Luke Moga. Jaron is also the all-time leader in passing yards in Hawaii history, so there was good reason for Oregon fans to be excited. Except, they can no longer be excited. After just a couple of weeks being committed to Oregon, Jaron is already in the transfer portal. I'm not really quite sure what to think of this. Either this is the epitome of what's wrong with college football, or he got a raw deal. It's definitely one or the other, as either something really fell through on Oregon's end, or he is completely taking advantage of the transfer portal rules. Either way, I don't really know. I'm going to give my opinion later on in the video, but first I'm going to introduce you to this 5-star quarterback who's in the portal after just a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about who Jaron is, how he became the best quarterback in Hawaii history, his recruiting saga, why I think he's in the portal, and where he will probably end up next. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Jaron. Also, if you want a chance to be featured on the channel, be sure to go down to the comment section and let me know a subject I should cover next. The best idea wins and will be made next week, and you'll get a chance to maybe see your name on the screen. Also, be sure to check out my college football current events playlist, as I'll pin a link down in the comment section if you want to check out other interesting things going on in the sport. Okay, so going back in time, Jaron was obviously born in the state of Hawaii, and he was gifted physically and mentally, and he followed in his older brother's footsteps, who was also a star quarterback. He eventually became an absolute high school star, as during the 2023 season, which was his junior year, Jaron ended up passing the ball 268 times for 3,757 yards and 37 touchdowns. The main area of concern for Jaron's game, though, was his interception count. Jaron ended up having 25 combined interceptions. Eventually, though, he was becoming a blue-chip recruit, as he gained offers from a lot of mid-tier Power 4 programs, and eventually he decided to commit to the Cal Golden Bear. He ended up committing to them before a crowd of about 100 people, and it was even live-streamed on 24/7 Sports. He was your average 3-star recruit who had a decent offer sheet who could potentially start one day at the Power 4 level. He decided to choose Cal over the likes of Boise State, Oregon State, and Utah State, as those were his final top 4 choices. He also recently had picked up offers from Washington, SMU, Washington State, and Colorado after he decided to blow up at the Elite 11 camp, which is obviously the nation's premier quarterback competition. So why on earth did he pick the Bears? Well, he credited their culture and their coaching staff. He said those guys had recruited me harder than anybody else since he received the offer, and just the whole coaching staff being able to come and see me throw was truly an honor and a blessing. During a live stream of that event, 24/7 Sports analyst Greg Biggins said that he had supreme arm talent and had NFL potential one day. He said, quote, "He's clearly established himself as one of the top quarterbacks this offseason. He went from a 3-star to a 5-star in his last year, as he threw for 3,404 yards, 46 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions, and he also helped his high school win its first 9 games for the first time in school history. He also completed nearly 71% of his passes and added a pair of scores on the ground. He still needed to improve in terms of being a dual-threat quarterback. He also had 6 different occasions in which he threw for at least 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, and as I said, he really blew up in camps, and he was starting to get noticed. He was awarded the Marcus Mariota Award, recognizing the top high school player in the state of Hawaii, and he finished his high school career as the state's all-time leading passer with 10,653 yards, surpassing former Oregon quarterback Dillon Gabriel. One scout said, quote, "His deep ball accuracy is amongst the best in the country as well, and he can really layer the football into tight windows. His release is smooth and tight, and he has improved his ability to make quick decisions and get the ball out on time. All the physical tools are there, and he has a very high ceiling in NFL potential if he continues to develop at this current rate. Okay, yeah, this guy's been seen as a big deal and has arguably been the fastest rising quarterback in the class of 2025. Cal is getting an absolute gem, but would they be able to keep it covered? Other schools were starting to find out, and if they could keep him, they will have found 2 straight hidden gems, as they had grabbed a 2-star recruit from Columbus High School in Florida named Fernando Mendoza, who really started to take off this past fall. But then everything would shift. Not only could they not keep Mendoza around, but they also could not end up keeping Jaron around. Eventually, he decided to reopen his recruitment, and it would come down to 2 schools, Cal and Oregon. Despite committing to the Bears on July 8th, he had a visit lined up to Oregon at the end of October when they hosted and defeated number 20 Illinois. Also, apparently, this was his dream school growing up, and I wonder if that's connected to Mariota. He also apparently visited the Georgia Bulldogs a few weeks later, despite showing pretty much no interest in them. He also had a later visit lined up, but he'd end up canceling that. According to 24/7 Sports, there was a cool level of interest between the Ducks and Jaron, but then it caught on fire. He said, quote, "It's a hard decision for me, but it's definitely between Cal and Oregon." His ground game wasn't very impressive, but that didn't matter. Oregon really wanted him. He eventually decided to choose Dan Lanning and the Ducks, and he became one of 2 scholarship quarterbacks assigned with them in the 2025 class, alongside Duck legacy Achilles Smith Jr., a 4-star recruit from San Diego. This was really good for Oregon. This was a good problem to have for Oregon. After losing Dillon Gabriel, their room would consist of Dante Moore, Austin Novosad, Luke Moga, Smith, and now Jaron. All 5 of those guys are pretty decently recruited, and many think that Luke Moga is an absolute gem. According to 24/7 Sports, Jaron was the number 8 quarterback and the 106th best player in the country. According to the composite, he was the number 10 quarterback and the 92nd best player, and according to On3, he was a 5-star. I'll probably meet somewhere in the middle and say he was an above average 4-star player, but some sites had him listed with 5-star potential. He decided to enroll early, and things seemingly were going well for Jaron. Then he decided to do something very unexpected. Just a couple days ago, Brandon Huffman at 24/7 Sports told us that he's deciding to enter the transfer portal. Jaron ended up confirming that this morning, and now all of a sudden he has to find a new school. Yeah, this comes just a couple of weeks after signing day. The guy has barely even been at Oregon, and he's already deciding to bail. I have absolutely no idea why, and this was extremely sudden. This is definitely unexpected, as back on December 4th, Dan Lanning said, quote, "It's not very often that you get to this point, and you don't know which way it's leading or where it's at. What I did know is where Jaron's heart was the whole time. The process started a little bit later here for us, but his heart was wanting to be here at Oregon, and I'm really excited about him and what he will bring to the table." Okay, so after scrolling through Reddit, which I know is murky, there seem to be 3 different theories for what's going on here. They also could all be intertwined. The first one is that he didn't get the money he was supposed to be paid. There was some sort of mutual agreement or deal that was agreed upon between both parties, and that fell through and he saw it and decided to leave. I'm not quite sure if I totally believe that one, but some say there was some fishiness near the end of his recruitment and that there was a lot of gray area going on there. The second theory is that there was too much competition for him and he decided to just bail out because he had the opportunity to. Yeah, there's already 4 talented quarterbacks in that room, including 3 who have already been there for at least a year and have experience. Dante Moore is probably going to be the guy moving forward, and behind him you have Novosad and Moga, so maybe Jaron did not see much of a chance to get playing time early on, which honestly he should have known when he committed there. Maybe he was expecting a couple of those guys to enter the portal, I don't really know, but to me that seems to be the second most believable theory. The first most believable theory is that coupled alongside the competition, he saw an opportunity at Cal. He was committed to the Golden Bears for nearly half a year, and many were expecting that they would hold on to Fernando Mendoza. He blew up into one of the top quarterbacks in college football this year, and recently transferred to be back with his brother over at Indiana. This was a huge loss for Cal, but all of a sudden, it opened up that starting job again. Cal does not really have a good option, and Jaron could go in there and start pretty much right away. He's already familiar with the staff, familiar with the school, and he'd likely get a decent NIL paycheck because the money they were going to spend on Mendoza could now be partially his. Ultimately, I think theories number 2 and 3 are the most likely here. Yeah, maybe some sort of NIL deal fell through at Oregon, but I think he's just taking advantage of a rule that allows him to enter the portal. He saw the writing on the wall at Oregon, and most likely, I think we'll end up at Cal here in the next couple of days. It's probably one of the worst kept secrets in college football recruiting, and maybe I'll be dead wrong, but I definitely think he commits to Cal in the next couple of weeks, probably fights for the starting job as a true freshman, and took prime advantage of the current transfer rule. We saw the same thing happen with Julian Sayin last year. I'm going to take the cautious approach here and not throw stones at him, and say that he saw the writing on the wall and is going to probably go to Cal or a place where he can start right away. Maybe he shouldn't have ever gone to Oregon, but at the same time, if it was truly his childhood school, I guess why not give it a chance? Still though, I don't really think this should be a rule in college football, as he probably should have had to wait a year since he was already enrolled, but again, I'm not in charge of this stuff. But what do you guys think? If you're an Oregon or a Cal fan, what is going on with Jaron? What do you think of his potential, and what topic should I do next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you can support today's video, check out my college football current events playlist, and all the other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.